D-Lo 404. Shout out to the LDBC. I want to make a quick video talking about all of this talk about Alexander Povetkin being better than Luis Ortiz. And, you know, a lot of this, and before I get into it, let me just say, welcome back to the channel, to the subscribers and repeat viewers. Anyone new to the channel, welcome to the channel. Please subscribe to the channel. If you're feeling the content, please like, share, and comment as well. What I want to talk about is, you know, ever since AJ knocked out Povetkin, there's been all this talk about Povetkin being a better opponent than Luis Ortiz. You know, I'll just say this. I've never heard anyone talk about not wanting to fight Povetkin. I've never heard anyone say Povetkin is so dangerous, any of that stuff. You know, what I will say is, going into that fight, everybody that was talking about it was pretty much saying Joshua was going to knock Povetkin out. You know, that fight wound up being a great fight. It being a really good fight to watch, because AJ simply wasn't head and shoulders over Povetkin like it looked like it should have been, you know. After David Price hurt Povetkin like he did, you know, I figured AJ would be able to go in there and get him out of there within a couple of rounds. AJ had a hard time with Povetkin for about 4 or 5 rounds. And eventually, you know, set him up and landed something really nice and set him on, put him on his seat. And it was downhill from there till Povetkin finally got out of there. Ref stopped the fight. But that said, you know, Povetkin was such a dangerous fighter, and it was this, you know, top upper echelon fighter. You know, AJ probably wouldn't have been interested in getting in there with him, and he'd have really made that wild. Eddie Hearn would have made sure they got that wilder fight in there. They had confidence that AJ would beat Povetkin. Otherwise, they wouldn't have had Povetkin first on the undercard of AJ. I think it was AJ versus Parker. He was on the undercard so that they could showcase him to get people interested in a fight between him and AJ. And when that fight was made, you know, we saw Povetkin get hurt by David Price, but eventually stopped David Price. But everybody stops David Price. I think Price has been knocked out like 6 times now. Each loss has been a knockout loss. But somehow, now that AJ knocked out Povetkin and he had a tougher than expected time with him, they want to make Povetkin out to be this great fighter. And then they want to come back and say, well, ever since Wilder struggled with Ortiz, you guys want to say that, you know, want to make it like everybody's. No, we're not making it like everyone's afraid to fight Ortiz. These fighters are making it like everyone's afraid to fight Ortiz. I mean, these guys are looking bad in the heavyweight division, ducking Ortiz, and they're not ashamed about it. I mean, they're just openly doing it. You know, and you know, that's the state of heavyweight boxing, I guess, right now. It's the state of boxing in general, really. Too many guys strategically avoiding other guys. But, you know, with that said, you know, when it comes to Luis Ortiz, he is what he is. I mean, he's a very avoided fighter. I mean, you can't deny that for whatever reason. You know, it's not like they're saying if you fight Ortiz, you're only gonna make $100. You know, it's like these guys will avoid this man to no end, you know, and they wait on him to get old, but he's not showing enough signs of decline for these guys to be willing to get in the ring with him, and that's the issue. And you know, eventually he's gonna slow down enough, and he'll start getting the fights that he wants. And maybe it'll be too late for him. You know, maybe he will be declined so much that he can't win those fights. But, you know, until proven otherwise, he's a very dangerous heavyweight. And like I said, the guy is what he is. You know, there's talk that Povetkin supposedly beat him in the amateurs. I'm not sure he did or not. You know, I'm not sure he fought in the amateurs. I mean, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I mean, but it's irrelevant. You know, and I'm one of them people that I really do hope that somehow they're able to find a way to make a fight between Povetkin and Ortiz. Not that it does anything for AJ or Wilder, but I just think it'll be an interesting fight. I mean, it really, as far as AJ and Wilder goes, it really doesn't matter who's better, Povetkin or Ortiz. It really doesn't. It doesn't matter. It has no merit on what the outcome of their fight will be. Because the reality is those two guys are there. They're there right now. We don't have to continuously debate on who's going to win the fight. It's not like there's some fantasy matchup that can't happen. I mean, these guys are here right now. They're considered the top, they're considered in the upper echelon of the heavyweight division. They're both undefeated. They both have a good knockout record, knockout percentage. The guys, the guys can get in there and make the fight. It's all of this talk about what could happen, would happen, should happen, etc. If they get in the ring, all of that can be found out if they actually get in there and make the fight. And it just needs to happen. But we can't, and that'll cut out all of this back and forth, I guess. Because we've seen other fights happen, and then the people who were going for that, who were rooting for that one fighter, when the fight happened and the guy got dominated, they still were saying he won the fight and it was a robbery. So who knows? Sometimes people just refuse to admit what they're seeing with their own eyes. Just like, when it comes to these negotiations and things, I mean, sometimes people just see what they pretend to see what they want to see. But as far as Povetkin and Ortiz, I'm looking at the body of work right now, regardless of who the guys fought, who's on their resume. I've never seen, Ortiz in trouble or hurt bad in a fight or getting dominated by anybody or anything until he fought Wilder. When he fought Wilder, that's the only time I ever seen him in serious trouble in a fight, and he eventually got stopped by Wilder. Prior to that, I never seen that. With Povetkin, we saw him dominated by Vladimir Klitschko. We saw him get hurt very badly by David Price. And then we just saw what happened to him against AJ. So, when it comes down to it, you see what you get is what you see with both guys, is what I'm trying to say. So, there's a possibility that the fight could be made. And I think, with those guys, just like I said about AJ and Wilder, these guys are here right now. You want to see Povetkin and want to see Ortiz, they need to make a fight. There's no reason for us to be going back and forth about which guy's better. I think both are name heavyweights. They're they're considered in the top 10. These guys need to just come together and make the fight if they're interested in the fight. If they're not interested in fighting each other, then they don't have to fight each other. There's no need of us going back and forth over which guy's the better fighter. I mean, it's ridiculous. You got this whole division. Like I did another video about this. You got the top 10 guys or the top 15, depending on what you're looking at and who all is in there. But when you look at it, the majority of those guys aren't fighting each other. It's like, you'll have a lot of these guys are just strategically avoiding one another in hopes of getting a title shot. It's like I want to do as little as I possibly can and get a title shot with the minimal amount of risk. It's not like it was back in the day when guys were really going out there fighting guys that were right there on their level or a level above them to work their way up to a title shot. It just doesn't really seem to happen anymore like it used to. But at the end of it all, these guys are just hurting their own legacy. They're hurting the sport, but more so than that, they're hurting their personal legacy because, once they're too old and their career ends and they can't come back and, they can't come back and fight the fights over that they should have fought. It's just going to be, looking back and, coulda, woulda, shoulda. And then talking about what they could have been. And how they going to be talking about how the promoter screwed them over. They never got a title shot, this, that, and the other. When the reality is, some of these guys aren't getting a title shot because they're not putting themselves in contention to really get a title shot because they're too afraid or whatever it is. I don't want to say they're afraid, but they're strategically avoiding fighting the guys that would really put them in the best position to be worthy of a title shot. It's like it's almost like they're playing some sweepstakes and they're hoping, that their name gets picked or something, But all in all, like I said, I love to see a fight between Povetkin and Ortiz. There's no point in us going back and forth about that, talking about which guy's better. The guys need to make the fight, and we need to see who's actually the better fighter in the ring. And I think that puts, one guy going in the right direction as far as their ascension toward the top of the heavyweight rankings. But as far as You know, what happened in the Olympics or, I mean, in the amateurs or whatnot, I mean, it's irrelevant to me. I don't really care. If they were telling me that Luis Ortiz dominated Povetkin in the amateurs, I wouldn't be talking about it, because the reality is that's the amateurs. I mean, there are a lot of guys that lost to other guys in the amateurs that when they got into the pros, it held no merit, you know. And I mean, and that's a lot of guys. I mean, they're guys who dominated the amateurs and got to the professional ranks and never did win a title, you know. So that's kind of one of them things that, like, yeah, that's good to know, but it really doesn't mean anything. But that said, I'm going to get on out of here. I'd like to see a fight. And when it comes to all of this stuff, I just hope, like I just said on another video, make the fight. Come out.